Boys, we got a bleeder in aisle 6, ladies and gentlemen.
Down my pots, I'm drunk and I'm pissed.
For the best the poker world has to offer, subscribe to Poker Go now.
Your super high roller bowl 7 champion, Daniel Negreanu.
Oh yeah!
Wheels are coming off.
That's the craziest hand I've ever seen.
The World Series of Poker, high stakes poker, no gamble, no future, and so much more.
What was that bite?
Sign up at PokerGo.com using promo code CardPlayer to get $20 off the first year of an annual subscription now.
Hi everyone, this is two-time World Poker Tour champion Jonathan Little, and I want to tell you about my training site, PokerCoaching.com. Poker coaching is the place to be if you want to increase your poker skills and learn to crush the games. It's the only place to quickly increase your win rate with active learning, so you can achieve your full poker potential without having to hire an expensive coach. Right now, podcast listeners can score a free membership by visiting PokerCoaching.com/cardplayer and get access to top training tools like our interactive hand quizzes, our 7, 14, and 30-day challenges, and a roster of elite coaches such as Matt Affleck, James Romero, Burt DraftGanger Stevens, Michael Acevedo, and dozens of others. Again, that's PokerCoaching.com/cardplayer to get your free membership right now.
By now, you've heard about Global Poker, one of the fastest growing online card rooms available in the US and Canada today. So what's stopping you from trying it out? Global Poker is a safe and secure social poker site that uses their own patented sweepstakes model. Signing up is easy. You can use Google, Facebook, or just an email address. You can always play for free on Global Poker, but you can also buy gold coins for additional play, which will earn sweeps coins that can be redeemed for real cash to a bank account, Skrill account, or even as a gift card. Get a free 5,000 gold coins when you sign up right now at globalpoker.com.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales, both on and off the feld.
Hello and welcome to Poker Stories, a podcast brought to you by Card Player, the poker authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. This is episode number 149, featuring Shaun Deeb. Shaun got his start in poker at just 16 years old, hosting small stakes tournaments for upwards of 30 of his friends at his home in New York. After high school, he enrolled in a college in Massachusetts, but dropped out after it was clear that poker had his full attention. It wasn't long before he was one of the top-ranked online players in the world. Shaun would go on to travel all over playing poker, and after a brief retirement to deal with burnout, he came back to the game stronger and started putting up huge results. Deeb won his first bracelet in 2015, taking down the $10,000 pot limit hold'em championship. He added bracelet number 2 in a 2016 stud event, and then dominated in the summer of 2018, winning the 25K PLO high roller, which he would win again in 2021, and the $10,000 Six Max event for more than $2.2 million combined, on his way to becoming the WSOP Player of the Year. It's actually a title he craves more than anything else, and what Shaun considers to be the toughest prize in poker. Since 2015, Shaun has finished in the top 6 of the WSOP Player of the Year race 6 times. This summer was full of more deep runs for Shaun, including winning his 6th career bracelet in the $1,500 8-game mix. But despite finishing second in the POY race this time, he still had a losing series because of running bad in the high roller events. Thankfully, he had a big swap with eventual WSOP main event champion Dan Weinman, earning Shaun what he called the biggest score of his own career. Deeb will have a chance to win a $1 million score of his own next year, thanks to a weight loss prop bet with high stakes businessman Bill Perkins. Shaun has already lost over 50 pounds, but he needs to get down to just 17% body fat before the start of next summer's series if he wants to cash in. Anyway, that's enough intro. Here is my conversation with Shaun Deeb. I'm here with the one and only Shaun Deeb. Shaun, how you doing? How you feeling? More importantly.
I'm feeling purely exhausted. Just did, a trainer session. Been busy with the family. I slept like 15 hours yesterday. My body is shutting down. So it's in a new realm of, it feels like I'm a kid again, where I just am playing outside the whole time until I'm so exhausted I just pass out.
I have a question for you. It's 5 p.m. where you are right now in New York. What have you eaten today?
So the meal plan for this week, breakfast was 3 eggs, 2 pieces of Canadian bacon, a mini bagel, some yogurt, some fat-free yogurt, and strawberries and blueberries. And then I had some almond butter and rice cakes. I'm drinking a protein shake right now. Later on meals are going to be chicken, broccoli, pineapple, and rice, and then steak, Brussels sprouts, and potatoes.
That doesn't sound too bad, actually. That's a lot of variety, considering.
No, I love my nutritionist. Right now, the weekly meal plans are very high in calories. I'm doing like 2350 a day, minus my extra protein shake and apple or banana for post-workout. So it's actually tougher to eat all the food I'm supposed to eat than not. And that's kind of one of the things that a few people mentioned to me, but I didn't think it was going to be possible. Of just the hardest thing is actually going to be eating the full amount of meals that are set for you, because of the fact that they're so nutrient dense. It's a lot of food. Like, I posted some photos of the meal prep and some of the meals, like it's a giant bowl of food. And also a lot of people are surprised just how many carbs are in my current diet. But, I'm working out so much that my body needs that for energy. And so I'm still losing weight at a pretty good rate. It's plateaued a little bit since the last 2 weeks of the series, but I knew, thankfully with my tournament background, I understand long term and know that there's going to be a month or two where I feel like I'm not losing weight, but maybe I'm building a little bit of muscle, maybe I'm getting a little tone, and there'll be some of those weeks where the nutritionist really cuts the calories down, and that's going to be, the weeks where I lose 3 to 5 pounds per week.
Well, for those who are unaware, what are the terms of this? This is an infamous prop bet you've booked with Bill Perkins, right? And how much money is up for grabs, and where did you start, and where do you have to get to?
So the initial bet was he laid $1 million to my 100K, getting to 17% body fat by any means necessary. So that means I'm allowed surgery, steroids, Ozempic, Mounjaro, anything I can do to get there.
You can chop off a leg.
Well, that's part of the reason I have this ridiculous beard and hair, is because I figured out that that's going to be beneficial to me to have some extra fat-free pounds. So, and at the final weigh-in, I'm probably going to make my hair into dreads for a few extra pounds. And that's probably going to be my favorite moments. This bet is going to be shaving my head and beard, because I fucking hate it. I like low maintenance, and it's wild and crazy. And I'm sure it helps a little bit in the workouts, getting a little more sweat. But yeah, I can't wait to get rid of this.
No, this is actually low-key genius. The fact that you are growing weight that doesn't affect your body fat percentage. I would never have thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, all the keyboard warriors on Twitter, someone said something about like getting dreads, and I'd already talked about growing out my hair, and I'm like, man, that's a lot of weight. 'Cause I remember hearing a story about like a football player who one of their dreads got ripped out and it was like 2 pounds. Obviously, that's growing dreads for like 10 years, but I'm pretty sure I can get 5 to 10 pounds out of dreads. And because of the way the bet's structured, that's another pound or two of fat. And so when it comes to those last few pounds of cutting, being able to get 1, pound or 2 extra of fat and still qualifying with the same body is going to be beneficial for sure.
Well, let's talk about weight. Where did you start and where you're at now?
I started at 306 pounds. I weighed in this morning at 252.
Congrats.
It's good, but not as far as I was hoping to be. I know it's going to sound crazy to people who are following along this bet, but my goal is still to win the bet by December. I really just want to get done with this. It's such a time commitment on my family. It's so taxing on the kids and my wife, and I just want to be done with this bet. just so I can move on and stay on the road. I mean, it's so difficult. Like, I always knew people talk about how difficult it is to like stay healthy while traveling for poker. But because of this bet and because of where my body was and where it needs to go, it's even more complicated. And I'm just not good getting myself to go to the gym and working out by myself. I love working with my trainer. I love, working out with other people. I'm not the type of person who wants to be isolated. I'm too outgoing. I like chatting during exercise and different things. It makes the time go by. My trainer even says I get a better workout when I have competition at it. So I had a few buddies come and stay with me a few weeks. I'm trying to get a few other ones to come for different times. And obviously that's even more taxing on my wife when, none of these friends live in the area. So it's someone staying at our house for a couple weeks, and that's some more meal prepping for them and a little harder on the trainer. But I definitely enjoy the social aspect of this bet. So if I'm going to increase my success rate, I need to include my friends and family as much as I can.
Well, let's talk about how it affected your World Series. Obviously, it seemed to have done wonders for your World Series, considering you finished second in the POY race.
Yeah, so unfortunately, you're wrong on that. I actually had my worst World Series financially ever. I had like $650K in buy-ins. I only cashed for $350K. Obviously, I won a bracelet. Obviously, I came close to POY, which were, two of my main goals. And I'm okay losing money because I know that there's some events where I'm playing a minus EV strategy to increase the EV of bracelets or POY. And obviously with POY, I had to miss, I think like 5 or 6 of the last 7 events because obviously my best friend, Dan Wyman, was going deep in the main. And spoiler for those who haven't watched it, he won. But yeah, so that was an amazing experience. Obviously, his winning party, I took 2 days away from the diet. I drank, I partied, I celebrated because that truly is a once-in-a-lifetime moment. And to be there with someone I'm so close with, someone who I've, kind of helped motivate throughout the years to stay in poker and remind him just how fucking good he is. And now the whole world sees what I've seen in him from the first day I met him.
Congrats to Dan. He's going to be on this podcast very shortly, and I look forward to hearing his story. Did you have a little piece? I mean, did that help you get unstuck for the summer?
Yeah, I had a significant piece. I had me and Dan do a 10% swap in every event. And then also when he was 3-handed, he was selling some equity at ICM, and I knew the skill edge he had, so I bought some more at that. And it was my single biggest score of my career for my personal cup, which is just insane. I think that watching your friend win and also having the sweat, it just was my favorite moment of my 20-year poker career. And there's been a lot of great moments, but that watching him win, and we'll talk about the great Jack of Hearts with whatever it was, 13 or 12 left, when he won that all in. I was in the middle of a tournament and I was blinding out to be on the rail because Josh Arya was spotting for me, and he said Dan's about to call 4-bet all in a crazy spot. So I ran over to sweat the hand, and then it went call, and we saw how dead he was. And that moment that Jack on the turn came, I was legitimately speechless. I did an interview with Jeff Platt like 30 minutes later, and if you play back that interview, you hear the tremble in my voice. Like, I've always considered myself one of the least emotional poker players, but there's something about when I'm not in the moment that it makes it so much tougher because I know that it's completely out of my control, and I know how fucking crushed Dan's going to be if this doesn't go well. It's such a unique opportunity in your poker career. You never get a shot to play for $12 million with a $10K investment. So I knew how, and I know Dan, how he is emotionally. So I knew how, if he fucking lost that hand and, he grinded for days and whatever, made 400 or 500K, which is still a great score, he would have been so fucking dejected and probably be emotionally done with poker. So I knew how important that was for our friendship. And, I love traveling with him. I love seeing him on stops. So there was so much more equity for me personally of enjoyment than the EV of the swap and everything else.
That's awesome. That's not the first time, though, that you've been at the main event rail sweating, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've coached, I think, like 7 other years. Cliff Josephine, Ben Lamb, Jay Farber, Tony Miles. I think that's all of them. Maybe there's another one in there. But it's a little different. Like me and Cliff are super close. Me and Ben are super close. But there was just something about that one. I think it's partially because, I convinced Dan that he was probably coming out for the main, but I helped convince him. He was staying in a room that I had booked for my massage therapist, and she moved into the house that Dan, Josh, and Matt were renting because they all moved out. And then Dan stayed in that room directly across the hall from me. So throughout the main, every break, we were hanging out every night. So, we really just went through that whole experience of that tournament, talking through hands, talking through whatever, what are we going to do, who are we afraid of, and it's going to seem crazy, but it was probably the lowest. If people got to see every hand he played, and it was probably the lowest variance main event win ever. I mean, he was, never all in until the jacks. He was all in. One time he had a big suck out ace king suited versus aces for a good chunk of his stack, but he just kept stealing and having the nuts when people called him, and it was just, he coasted. I mean, that final table, it couldn't have been more scripted, where everyone thought that they chopped and everyone thought he was just gifted the win, because it was just insane. We were mentally prepared. I had him, I was trying to coach him through his sleep and different things for the later days. And I've been there with so many people. I know how important sleep is. And Dan was great at it. And then I was the one night going to 3-handed, I was he was tired at 10, 11. I was you need to stay up. Your body needs to not being used to go to bed at 11. We're going to stay up till 1 or 2 because we don't play till 2:30 the next day. You're going to get your 6 hours. We're going to go to the pool. But tomorrow's going to be a long fucking day. You're going to be playing heads up for 6 million for somebody. And then day 2 was an hour and a half fucking long.
Right.
Crazy. Obviously, me, I'm friends with a lot of the production and media people. And I think Lizzie Harrison came over and said, that was the quickest final table by 10 hours. Yeah. Which is just crazy. I mean, they ended at 2.5 million big blind, and there was 600 million in play. Dan ended with 250 big blinds, which is just an insane amount when so many of the main events, you're going to get down to 50, 60, 70 big blinds total, and then they're playing for the bracelet. But yeah, just everything.
They could have easily played another 8 hours. They could have gone for forever.
That could have been, yes, a crazy, crazy match. 3-handed could have taken forever. The previous days could have went a lot slower too. The short stacks just lost every all in, and everything just seemed like it was expedited. It didn't seem like the main event. I've been there so many times where it's you go 3 levels with no one busting, and there was just elimination after elimination every single day of that tournament. It was crazy how fast the play was, and no one was playing slow, no one was stalling. There was a lot of nice things from a viewer standpoint that have been issues in previous years.
Well, let's talk about your summer. You mentioned it wasn't very profitable. You did get your 6th bracelet. What do bracelets mean to you in general? Is that something that you're, Phil's always talking about how you're one of his top competition when it comes to the bracelet count.
Yeah, I mean, I love bracelets. They're what got me hooked on poker. I really hope that World Series keeps promoting them well. I've shifted a little bit where I think bracelets are not as important as Player of the Year. The way Phil has promoted bracelets from early on in his career, that's kind of where I've stolen some of his ideas and have really started advertising Player of the Year, because that's given out once a year. There's probably 600, 700 bracelets given out a year. They're a lot easier to win. They take a lot less skill, and POY is putting in the time and effort, putting in the work, playing every event, doing well. Ian Martakas had an insane year. I don't think people know how difficult it is what he did, especially on the volume he did. I think it's very similar to the Josh Arya year, where every tournament they played, they went deep and got a lot of points. It was so impressive. It was a great battle. I think he's a great up-and-coming player. I'm so happy for his success. Obviously, I wish he didn't have his outlier year, because how cool would it be if I have a Bannon of the same year as my best friend and get to 2 POIs, get ahead of Josh, tie up with Daniel, which is one of my main focal points. And I've come so close so many years. So, that was, it was definitely, I was very down and bitter towards the last few weeks. Like, my friend group was giving me a lot of shit that I've never complained. And I was just, losing every single all-in that mattered. And I kept accumulating chips and then losing deep in a tournament. I had usually I always have a good finish to the World Series. This year was the first year I ever had a hot start. Like, I was leading POY early, had 4 final tables, a win. And I was like, this is going to be fucking easy. I knew that with me at the top of the leaderboard, a lot of people are going to lose motivation to go for POY because, like, fuck, Shaun's at the top and he's gonna get the most points per week on average because he's gonna multi-table, he's gonna do all this crazy shit. And so I was like, all right, I got this. And then Ian just kept putting up score after score after score. And every tournament I went deep in, he was also deep in it. So I never really had a chance to gain points on him. And then, he had another final table or two, and I just didn't have results for the last couple of weeks. And then the last 5 events, I had to skip a bunch of them, or I was even blinding out to sweat Dan, and because I knew how important that was for my equity and for my friend. So I wanted to be there for Dan at any moment if he needed advice, consoling. I was there to be as supportive as I could, win, lose, or draw.
Obviously, POI means the most to you. You mentioned your consistency over the years. We actually looked at it. In the last 8 years, the worst you finished was 56th, 2016, and then 23rd.
2016. I wasn't even trying then.
Exactly. You're not even trying.
Yeah,
you still
I
had
would
the
fight top
56th
5 every year after that, I think.
Yeah, and then you had a 23rd in 2017. Every other year, you finished in the top 6. Every single other year. So it's obviously something that matters to you. You're there for the grind, as it were. Can I ask you about what your WSOP routine is? Is it the same every year? Do you get the same house? Do you stay on property? Are you with friends?
So I've switched it up a lot of the years. For the first 17, 18, 19, I stayed at Frank Casella's house, one of my good friends. He has a beautiful home. Those couple years, there weren't many people living there, as most of his kids were out of the house. So I had a great time there. I actually got really close with Lizzie Harrison. She was living there for 2 of those years. My wife and kids would come out for a week or 2 and stay at the house. So I loved that. But, he lives 25, 30 minutes away. And I just was like, I need to stay on property. So I don't remember, it was 19 maybe that I stayed at the Rio. And as much of the Rio was a shithole, I really enjoyed staying on property and getting more sleep and having my room with snacks and food and different things there. So that's kind of what I've done since then, is stay on property. And obviously this year was a little different because I was following my diet and I attempted to work out. I didn't really work out. I maybe went to the gym 4 or 5 times and I didn't lift at all. So if I lose this weight loss bet, it's definitely because of the series. But also, the way I see it is different than most. Most people are like, man, $1 million bet, you have to be all in for that. It's like, no, I'm still a professional poker player. I still have all this EV in poker. So if I can lower my EV in the bet from, say, 60 to 50%, that costs me 120K in equity or something like that. But if I can increase my EV in poker by 350K, that's plus 230. So I've always weighed multiple things in my strategy for making money as a poker player. So I've tried to bobble both the weight loss and poker because I'm still a winning poker player. There's still insane events to go to. So I don't want to hurt my poker earn to just increase my EV of this weight loss bet. Obviously, that was one of the things that Perkins was counting on, and that's part of the reason why he capped the amount of side action, because if I had $5 million worth of action to win, obviously it's not worth it to cut down the EV 10% for, my earn in poker. So I would just be at home with the trainer 24/7, just focusing on the weight loss bet. So that was kind of, I know, one of the edges that he had. And I just want to do both. I want to have a winning poker year. I want to, keep putting up results and going to tournament stops while winning this weight loss bet.
Yeah, even outside the WSOP, congrats. You just won a PLO high roller in South Florida earlier this month.
Yeah, and 22 people wasn't, it's still impressive, but 22 people are basically multi-table sit and goes. But it was a good event. I had a lot of friends at the final table. Foxen was there, Chance, Renlin, who's always entertaining, Roger Teska, who's a legend who most of the people listening probably don't know how great he is. But me and Roger got heads up, and we were sitting there talking, and I was telling Roger, I was like, this is so rude. I would love to just be sitting here drinking wine, playing heads up with you, because he's one of my favorite people to play and drink with. I've only gotten to do it a few times, but he's a lot of fun. We talked about a lot of different things. He's done some different weight loss bets throughout his career. And, he's just one of those people who are, I like pros who are always happy and sociable at the table. And, he's definitely up there as top 5 best at that.
You also won a tournament at the Lodge, a 5K. You won a horse event at the Mixed Games Festival in February. And, speaking of big fields, you won a circuit with, 1,100 people?
Yeah, so that circuit is actually the reason I got the weight loss bet. There was a video taken by DJ McKinnon, one of my really close friends, who sent it to Matt Glantz, making fun of me on the stage eating some chicken fingers, and then already tweeted it. So, the butterfly effect for me to get this weight loss bet and all this change, it's so insane, all the things that had to go my way. And if I win this bet, it just proves how ridiculous my life has been, how far above expectation I've ran on everything I've done. A lot of people consider me one of the best poker players, but I just think I'm one of the hardest working poker players. And it's not hardest working in the lab studying, just hardest working putting in volume. It's I have all those wins because I go to stops and I play really well. But I know that the game's going to pass me by. I know there's a bunch of up and coming kids like Ian and, other people I don't even know yet who are just have so much free time to study the game. Well, when I'm not playing poker, I'm trying to be a dad and be a husband and do all this other shit and do business. It's the juggling of that stuff is so much harder. I love when people come visit me at my house to see what my day-to-day is like, because it's so different than what people assume it is. And I have so much respect for the online generation of older guys who had families and had kids and juggled playing online 5 days a week with, kids screaming in the background. I don't know how they did it. And I constantly talk to them and be like, I would have quit poker if I had to deal with what I'm dealing now early in my career.
Well, you famously did quit poker, right? You retired back, was it 2010? You were done?
That was a while ago. That was an interesting time. One of my good friends owned my soul in a hand, and I was so burnt out. The first 8-10 years of my career, I probably had single-digit days off. I would travel from tournaments, playing online on the flight, wake up, play until I literally was falling asleep in front of my laptop. It was an amazing time, but man, that effort put in there is just crazy looking back on it. I don't know how I mentally and physically handled it.
Yeah, at the time, especially before online poker kind of went away, and you kind of had the nonstop grind of, okay, where can I find a good internet spot for my Sundays, Yeah,
it was a crazy couple years. So many fond memories, so many great people I met back then who have been such influences on my life. And, my friendship, I met such a great group of guys that I didn't realize until I got older and had a family just what good people I surrounded myself with. There were so many scumbags in that era, and thankfully I never really got close with any of them.
Well, speaking of Team Waffle Crush, how many of you guys are still in the game?
Well, we have to say, we unfortunately lost Thayer last year.
Rest in peace.
Or this year, I'm sorry. It feels like it's been a year ago. He was so influential. I had such great moments with him throughout my career. All the big things I did, all the motivation, the prop bets. I told his mom, and I mean this every time I say it, that I would be nothing. I would have left poker if it wasn't for Thayer. He helped my game so much early on, helped me. We talked so much. We traveled. He was so influential. We had such different styles. He was so nitty, and he really got me to calm down in some spots and be like, dude, why are you doing this? This guy knows that you're going to fucking 5-bet shove. He has it. He's not doing that as a bluff. And it was so influential on my career, and he was such a great person and so entertaining to be around. I loved every grind session we did, every road trip we took, every live stop we went to. he was the first guy I roomed with a lot in poker. So I guess there was a couple earlier people like Junglin and Randall All In. But yeah, a lot of Wealth Crushers still in poker. David Bakes, myself, Vivek comes in and out a little bit.
I'm afraid even by mentioning Vivek, we're going to get a cease and desist.
Really?
He likes his privacy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only WPT champion who doesn't want to be recognized as such.
Really? Didn't know that.
Aguiar I think was part of the crew, and now he's into the DraftKings world.
Yeah, so that's my other World Series bad beat story that I love to tell. So sorry, hold on, let my dog out.
That's all good.
Come on. Come on, I'll outside. Go. Go. Outside. Yeah, so when John was burnt out from poker, he realized he wasn't that good. Being a nit wasn't as profitable anymore. He got hired for this company, and he told me I should invest in this company that's raising money. So I was like, hey, I'm going to the World Series. I'll let you know after the series. So that's, my only losing World Series of my career, if you count my piece of Dan for this year. And so I was like tilted from losing a bunch of money at the series, and I was like, nah, I don't want to invest. So John was the sixth employee at a little company called DraftKings. So that would have been quite the profitable investment that I would have been obscenely wealthy if I, won a little bit and threw $100K, which is probably what I would have thrown towards them. Who knows how much money that would be, 50, 100 million at this point. It's a little annoying, but, that's happens. They could have become nothing, but I'm super happy he's, one of the most successful friends of mine. I still keep in touch with him. He moved out to Vegas. We still hang out a little bit when I'm in town. Adam Schumann, another Waffle Crusher, is doing really successful in finance. So I'm just happy that so many of that group found other avenues. Andrew Tang, still a part of it. We're really close. He stayed with me a couple months after the series. So it's just great to see all those guys doing well, having fun. We've all grown up together. We all knew each other early 20s, and now we're late 30s or 40, and we're still, whatever we get involved in, we're doing well in. And I think that just shows like how much we all helped each other, how much we all learned from each other, and really we were, cutting edge in poker. And it's just crazy to see that we're all still here in some way, or whatever we went to, we did well.
Real quick, back to the series. You've had success in small buy-in events, online events, high roller events. Do you approach these events differently? It feels like you're just constantly adjusting when you're at the series, and different events are coming at you, different variations and different opponents.
Yeah, I just love the World Series for how much volume I can play. And every event is motivating. You can try really hard. The prize pools are great. It doesn't matter how small it is. Making a final table at the World Series still makes you just so fucking motivated. And that's what I love about it. I love the schedule. I love the mixed games. And even like the no limit and PLOs are great. The numbers are insane. The people showing up. And I made so many good business contacts as well. I've met so many successful people who want to pick my brain on poker, and I get to pick their brain on business or investing or something else. And I don't think people realize just how beneficial it is to be surrounded by successful, intelligent people. And that's part of the reason why so many poker players, when they leave poker, crush it so well. And I think we don't realize how spoiled we are to be surrounded by so many people who think similar to ourselves, who can discuss something in a very short time frame, but still get a lot out of it.
Interesting. Yeah. We can't let the year go by without talking about your heads-up match with Mike Matisow. Poker goes high-stakes duel.
Yeah, I got to get a rematch versus him one of these days. I got to reach out to Maury when I can fit in my schedule. Actually, I'm just booking some stuff in Vegas. I'm probably going to do a couple week shows of Poker Night in America at Studio 52. I've always been super close with them. They were some of the first people to really give me a platform to play on stream shows, and the games were always great. And I love the staff there, and I just want to see them be successful. They were really cutting edge on the streaming of poker, and those early Poker Night episodes are still going viral to this day, whether it was me soloing Mattisau or, Doug and Helmuth playing some crazy hands or all kinds of ridiculous shit. I mean, we really put on a great show, and I think that's part of the reason why Hustler and all these other streams, they noticed what we were doing on Poker Night America. It was all about the characters. It was not about high-level play. It was all about ridiculous shit. And, obviously we crossed the line on a few episodes, but some of my, earliest, besides the Dan moment, my favorite moments of poker were definitely on that stream.
Is that the viral hand? You played a lot of televised poker. Is that the one that sticks out the most? Is the Mattisau slow roll?
All right, I call. Do anything to me, you can call me an amateur, son. You ever fucking slow me, I'll punch you in the fucking mouth.
Yeah, I mean, that's, what I'm known for. It's kind of crazy because early on in my career, I would have thought that the Max Heinzelman aces versus a6 off would have been the most viral hand. But I think that, Poker Night America was just a little bit better at social media, and World Series, some of that stuff went behind paywall with Poker Go, which, was their business decision. And I'm always surprised that hand is not more well known because it was a crazy, crazy hand.
Yeah, I remember everyone just their jaws on the floor going, "What just happened?"
But whatever is running through Heinzelman's head right now, Lon, has never run through my head. 2 raises in front of him, and he's got ace-6 off.
Wow. Deeb with the pocket aces with the re-raise. K with the original raise with pocket tens, and now Heinzelman re-pops it to 31-3 with his weak ace.
Heinzelman just 4-bet into a 3-way pot with ace-6 off. To be 21 again with no credit card debt.
And Deeb is going to pump up the action to 68,600.
Yeah, that's what we call a legitimate 5-bet, son. Okay, whatever is running through Heinzelman's head right now, Lon, had better never run through my head. I know these guys have history online, but this is an automatic fold. No.
All in and a snap call. Heinzelman playing for his role. All right, here's the flop. Heinzelman at risk. 10-6 king. Deep still good. Turn card Queen of Hearts, each with a Broadway draw now.
So Heinzelman now needs a jack to chop the pot with a straight or a 6, or he is whamboozled.
And the river card. Oh, and Heinzelman gets there with the 6. Winning that huge pot from Shaun Deeb.
Yeah, and that was another one of those, goofy, weird, bad beat stories of my career. So that one, the bad beat wasn't even losing that hand. Obviously, it was a lot of equity in the tournament at that stage. But really the big thing was me and Ben Lamb are really close, and we forgot to text a swap before the main. And I was trying to swap with him on my day 2, and his day 2 was the next day. And I had 500K, and he had 300K to start his day 2. And I was towards the end of my day 2. And he's like, oh, well, let's see how I bag my day 2, and then we'll swap maybe. And he bagged I don't know, 600, and I had 400 or 450, whatever. So he's like, oh, we can't swap yet. So if I actually won that hand was going into break, I would have had 500 something K, and Ben would have had about the same. So me and him would have swapped, and obviously he went on to get third. Obviously everything changes, but that for many years of my career, that was what I thought was the worst beat, was not swapping 5% with Ben and getting a couple $100,000 out of that swap.
I think I was there for your first $1 million score, which was actually a satellite versus where your heads up with Gus Hansen, right?
Yeah, so that was early in that was one of my crazy nights of degeneracy. So going into that satellite, I was playing a 300-600 mixed game at Aria. At that stage in my career, I was mostly playing open face and cash games a lot more than tournaments. I really wasn't crazy on POY yet. I was playing bracelet events here or there, but cash was better for me. So I actually was going to play that satellite, and I played a 36-hour cash session. At the time, I had my biggest win. I won 120K playing 3-6, which is a crazy amount of bets. The game wasn't even that good. I just made the nuts every single hand. I didn't have to bluff. It was the best I've ever ran. And so I had to go play the satellite, and I'd been up for a day and a half, and 3 of the guys in the game, after I felted them, were like, hey, I have a really good feeling about the satellite, sell me some action. And I was like, I don't want to sell you action. I'll sell you a markup that's too high. This is before I was markup police. So it was a 25K turbo, and I sold them at like 1.25, and they like bought, I think like 16% total, like 3 of them. So I won 120K in cash, and when I got heads up with Gus, first place was, the seat, which was worth 888K because of the 111K charity rake, and second place was $1 million in cash. So I was like, I fucking want to get second. I wasn't sure how much I could sell for the event. I had, a lot of myself in the satellite. So I basically was like, yeah, I'll take second place. And I was an alternate, and I was able to sell way more action than I thought I could the night before in case I had to play the event. So it's one of those things in my career I kind of regret not possibly playing that, because that tournament was really soft. There was like half businessmen, and even some of the pros were like not tournament pros. They were cash game guys. So it definitely is one of those things in my career. I always say, what would have been the arc if I played that tournament and did well or didn't do well? And so, yeah, it was just a crazy, moment to get $1 million out of a 25K buy-in was so much to me at the time. I ended up dating my now wife a few days later. So a lot of things worked out in my favor because of that score. But, you always play the what if game as a poker player and an analytical person. And so that's one of those things I'm like, man, that was my one shot to play $1 million buy-in, and a soft one at that.
What about the nerves when the prize pool gets big like that? You've won a few $1 million scores now. Does it feel any different, or is it just another final table?
I think I do a really good job of ignoring the money on the line, and I'm not the best ICM-based player, and usually, obviously a lot of those $1 million scores, I was chip leader most of the final table, and that tends to be how I play most of my tournaments. Is I'm kind of a foot on the gas type of player, so I don't have as much to worry about monetarily in ICM because I always have people covered, and I'm always leveraging that against them, so I don't have to worry about it as much as they do.
Okay, so let's talk about your general playing skills. You mentioned you're a family man, you got other responsibilities, you don't study a ton, right? You don't have time for it.
Yeah, I always kind of analyze studying in poker as, all right, if I study X number of hours, how much do I increase my EV? And also, I'm not a very good studier. I'm not the type of person who can run sims and learn from that. And I feel like most of the stuff I do is exploitive tournament stuff. So I definitely just don't see much value in getting it. And I also don't get to play enough volume. Like, I'm not going to play every Triton or every high roller where I'm just playing millions of dollars worth of buy-ins, where if I increase my edge by 5%, that's going to make a huge difference in like a couple $100,000 of EV. So, and I also have talked to some solver guys who are pretty sure that if I did do solver work, it might fuck up my game more than help it. I mean, a lot of the stuff I do in my intuition is great, and it would be nice to have that as a baseline, but I don't know. It's just not something that I don't enjoy that side of poker, so I've kind of avoided it, and I know it's hurt me in some ways and some availability of games and profitability, but also I just love what I do, and I'd rather sit there and play a game, and make a couple hundred an hour than study and make no money and hope that it increases my EV later on.
I remember there was a viral hand I was watching doing some research for this, where one of the Poker Night in America announcers said, one of Shaun Deeb's superpowers is making other players feel like idiots. What do you think she meant by that?
I think I do a really good job of figuring out the psychology of people in that moment. I can just tell based on timing or intuition if they're in the mood to make a big call or a big fold, or kind of narrow their hand range down. I think I've made a lot of great reads throughout my career where I just kind of like, all right, I've seen this guy check this type of strength hand, so now they're a lot more polarized, or they always think I'm bluffing, so I'm just going to overbet here and hope to get called by some hero call, or I'm like, oh, this guy likes to make big folds because they're scared, or girl, and I'm going to just, ram and jam here and hope to get a fold. It definitely has worked out more times than it hasn't. I've looked like an idiot on many of hands in my career, and that's kind of, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with a lot of people thinking I'm a fish in particular buy-ins. I don't care. I don't have the ego that I want everyone to think I'm the best player ever, or I want to have that image. I just want to put in the most volume And if results come, they come. And if I'm doing things correctly in tournaments, I'm going to win. And, you know, obviously I've ran very far above expectation a lot of my big final tables. I usually get top 3, and usually if I'm top 3, I win. It's not – I'm well aware that that's not the norm, and I'm well aware of just how rare those opportunities are. And I always tell my wife, I'm like, I've done so well the last few years, and this is not what my expected value is. It's well lower than that. And that's part of the reason I always try to put in the volume, is because I know that, you know, there's going to be some rough stretches of variance and downswings at some point in my career that I'm just going to have to play through and mentally deal with. And, you know, I was having won this World Series, and then I get bailed out by, you know, Dan Score. And it's hard to realize just how likely I was to have a losing World Series. You know, and I still have to convince myself that I did. And what did I do wrong? Obviously, I ran bad in the higher buy-ins this year, and that's obviously going to affect your bottom line a lot. So that's kind of, did I play bad in these high buy-ins? By kind of playing too high variance? And I look back on them, like, pretty happy with most of the hands I played. Obviously, there's always a couple you want to change, but I'm never trying to play perfect poker. I'm just trying to play better poker than my opponents, and that will make me convinced that long term I'll end up with more money in the bank account.
You mentioned, you know, not being afraid to look dumb, making a play or something like that. I know you also don't really care what others think about you when it comes to being outspoken about issues in the poker community. But I'm also, you know, even though you don't care what others think of you, I'm sure you're pretty self-aware. What do you think your reputation is in the poker world? How do you think you're viewed by your peers or even by casual players?
I think people have gotten to the point where they realize I'm a no bullshit kind of guy. I would never lie to someone just to give them the answer they want to hear. I think there was a funny one on a Twitter space a few nights ago. Cody Daniels, the kid who had the rock and everything, you know, he's sick, has terminal cancer, and he was asking me, like, how excited do pros get for the main event? And I was like, well, me personally, I just treat it like another tournament, and I'm not that excited. And I actually hate when it comes around because it hurts my POI chances. Like, going deep in the main is the worst thing you can do for POI because the way the point structure is. So people were surprised by that answer, and they appreciate the honesty. But it definitely, you know, I think people expect me to just be brutally honest. And throughout my career, when it comes to controversy and other things, I'm very opinionated. But I also have a lot of logic and theory behind it. And I think the more outspoken I've become on some of these topics, the more supporters and people who agree with what I say, even if they don't fully understand it. And that's one thing, is like, I've always cared about poker's long-term growth. And I've done a lot of things in my career that have hurt my individual earn because of my morals and ethics, while other people are willing to do that. And I love having that reputation as being one of the most ethical people in poker, because I think that is one of the hardest images to maintain. And so I love that I have the respect of my peers. I love that I'm trusted. I love that the casuals know that I am a respected voice in the community. And that's kind of, I love speaking on those things of what's best for poker long term, because I care so much and because I want to see people get as much enjoyment out of poker as I have throughout my career.
What are your thoughts on poker long term and the health of the industry right now?
I think we're hitting a boom that is going to be better than moneymaker. Numbers keep getting better and better. Operators keep getting better and better. There's so much more competition. You know, we're really getting the international game where there's tournaments in Asia and Africa coming, and Europe, all over the place. NAPT is coming back. Wynn is doing a great job. Venetian does a good job. You know, all the WPT stops, all the Florida stops. I mean, there's so much poker. Don't forget South America. Like, it's booming in so many new regions, and people are, thanks to COVID, fell in love with poker who had left it from that early online generation. There's so many people I met at the World Series this year. Like, yeah, I was like an online pro. Black Friday, I had a family, I did this, and now I just, you know, I'm a casual wreck, but I still love poker and I love getting back into the game. And I think that recruiting those people, and I think we have a bunch of amazing female ambassadors. I love telling people the great stuff Victoria Lipschitz is doing. There's Angela Jordanson doing an amazing thing for women and veterans and different people in poker. And Nadia, I forget her married last name.
Nadia Magnus?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if she took her husband's name or not. Yeah, but, Nadia Magnus doing amazing things. There's so many great ambassadors for the game who are doing so much for people to get involved and people to fall in love with poker like we have. And I just appreciate all of them putting in that time and effort for the, newbies of the game, because they're going to be, love poker as much as we do. And whether they turn to a profession or just slightly, less expensive entertainment, that's all the growth of poker. And maybe one day we'll get the real sponsorship money we should have. And then you're going to really see a massive growth when there's all this money added to prize pools and leaderboards and different things, and you're getting the biggest names out there and sponsorship money is there. I'm so excited for the future of poker when it comes to that stuff, because we just need a couple more catalysts to happen, and we're so fucking close to being so big in such a respected industry. And that's always been my goal since I got into poker, is more people to know that being a professional is acceptable, more people to know that it's a skill game, and more people to be exposed to it where they fall in love with it. Because there's so many people I meet, like, yeah, we play a little poker here or there. And we're like random people I run into on day-to-day life, like I've never met a poker pro before. And obviously, you try to brag a little bit, but not too far. And they really have no idea what it entails, the difficulties. But I also say to all of them is like, don't try to be a pro, try to do it for entertainment value and try to break even. Because if you can break even and travel and do all this other stuff, you're going to love the game as much as we do. And the people you meet, the stuff I was talking about, the business people you meet at the table, there's so much growth as a person and financially you can do away from the table based on relationships made on the table. It's kind of the way people see golf. And when you were growing up, you always heard all the biggest business deals were made on a golf course. I could see that being a phrase 10, 20 years from now, all the biggest business deals are made at a poker table.
Yeah, Helmut's always bragging about how he's going to get to $1 billion based off of his private game, right? Yeah,
I mean, you hang out with billionaires, you tend to make some good investments, and we're surrounded by the sharp people, and they all love poker for different reasons. And whether they were successful, the psychology of being in a boardroom or negotiating a deal is so similar to what happens at a poker table. And I think so many businessmen and women figure that out early on in poker, and it gets that drive because they're the fish again. They're not the best. They're not dominating every conversation or every deal. And I think they love the challenge of poker, and I love exposing that and being a part of that. And it's challenging to us as well to figure out how they play and what their tendencies are and what they think about the game. And there's so much extrapolating information that's available that I just love every day I get to be at a poker table.
We got some rapid fire questions to close it out if you're ready.
Okay.
Any good slow roll lately?
Not really. It's so hard to do a good slow roll because everyone sees it coming. My favorite slow rolls these days are where I pretend I have aces or pretending I'm slow rolling and then muck. It just watching someone be dejected where they're like, hey, is it okay if I slow roll you? And then they're like, oh, fuck. And then I just fold. And then I did something earlier. I was like, planning to slow roll someone. I asked the dealer what to do. And they're like, I see you do that with aces. And the dealer says call for you. And then I had 3-7 offsuit. It's just shit like that. I find ways to make poker so entertaining for myself. And obviously I'm my biggest fan. And it's that stuff that I love to do every day at the table.
I liked your hat this year, the black sparkly one. What was the story with that?
So I liked, we were discussing in, I think it was the 1508, the November series. And someone was wearing this hat and we thought it was a really expensive hat, and he told me he bought it for $30 in Hawaii. So I threw him $100 and tried to buy his hat, and he sold it to me. So I rocked the hat after that, and I did retire it at the end of this year. I gave it to Ian Martakis. He hopefully is figuring out a way to include it in his banner photo because they were actually going to do a photo shoot for it. So I hope that that gets retired on his banner because he deserves it. And so I don't know what my next hat will be. Maybe it'll be a sponsorship hat. Maybe it'll be an all-in fitness. I'm a big fan of TJ Jerkowitz and what he's doing for poker players. He's not helping me with my bet, but he's actually coaching my wife. I just love his mentality, his focus on long-term, decisions for people. I just think he's a great person. So I'm happy to support his brand and support him because I think people like him will help clean up the image of poker because, people always assume everyone was a fat slob and degenerate, just sitting there smoking cigars, eating chips, licking their fingers at a table, while, really the high roller scene and other crowds are just all these fitness gurus into meditation and all this other shit that it's kind of a weird shift, but I think it's a good avenue of growth for poker.
You mentioned, we obviously talked about the weight loss prop bet. Any other memorable prop bets stick out for you?
I don't know. I've done so many small ones. None were nearly as public as this one. This one is just levels above. I mean, it could get national media attention outside of it. Maybe we'll turn into a Netflix doc at some point. I don't know. I have a lot of footage. I want to get back into the YouTube channel. It's so hard. I have so much respect for the content people. I knew it was a lot of work from being good friends with Doug over the years, but man, it is so hard to do. And I really want to do it because I know people want to be involved and follow along the challenge. And the problem with the publicity of the bet is people know the dollar amount, and a lot of people I wanted to hire, I think, were trying to overcharge me because of my notoriety, because they know I have money and they know how expensive the bet is. So that's kind of been unfortunate. There's definitely been some downside of the publicity of a bet this big, and so I would have liked, to hire some people before the bet got out, and then maybe it would have been a little more streamlined, a little bit less work for me. And it also sucks. I wish I had, more footage of the World Series than Dan early days. Luckily, Andrew Tang took a lot of video, and he's producing some videos on that of me and Dan and different things. Did some cool interviews with us. So I'm kind of excited to see what he does. He's kind of toying with editing, and it's a new hobby of his. But he was, there from early on, and he's a good friend of mine, became a good friend of Dan's, and it was just an amazing experience to live. And I just wish people get to see what we got to see on the early days, and just how relaxed he was, and just how, we knew he was going to win. It was just crazy. I always talk about never believing in luck and always being a variance guy. But, when you have a premonition that something's going to happen and it comes true, I felt with a couple hundred people left that Dan was going to win. And I was pretty much planning my life assuming that he was going to win. And I was telling his girlfriend all the things to prepare for when he wins and what to do. That's actually a funny prop bet that I can mention. So when I met Sarah, Dan's girlfriend, they've only been dating for a few months, but I saw both of them the way that me and my wife felt early in our relationship. You can tell that they just get along great. They have so much in common. They want to spend every minute together. You see that great relationship that they had. And Sarah I mentioned one of the things that a lot of people think is weird of me, that I hate all music. So I'm like, what, you don't dance? And I was like, no, I don't fucking dance. What about a wedding? I was like, literally the last wedding I went to with me and my wife, we got in a fight because I wouldn't dance with her when she was drunk. And I literally left the wedding because I was fighting so much with her. She's like, we'll make a prop bet, about you dancing at my wedding. And I was like, there's never anything I would be willing to do to dance at your wedding. And then with 53 people left, whatever day, 6 or 7, whatever it was, she says, if Dan wins the main, will you dance at my wedding? And I said, sure. If you pay me $1 million, I'll fucking dance at the wedding. So as soon as Dan won the main, she turned around to me and says, you're dancing at my wedding. She was so fucking excited. So that's...
Oh, wow. Is this going to be just a generic dance with everyone else on the floor? Or do you have to do a solo dance in front of everybody?
So it was just going to be a generic dance. But after Florida, I went and visited Dan and Sarah in Atlanta. They didn't know that Josh Hari had planned a surprise party for him. But that was I also wanted to meet Dan's company, talk to them because I love the company, what they're doing. I want to kind of get involved with them. I think they're doing some cool things on the social side of poker. So I was already planning on doing a business meeting with them. So I was down there, And Sarah's brand new to poker since dating Dan, so she's been playing. She thinks she's good. So me and her started doing these heads-up matches, and she kicked my fucking ass. It was embarrassing. I think I lost like 12 of 16 matches total, or 11 of 16, whatever it was. And during the matches, we started betting dances. And now the dances, originally the bet was just one dance. And then during the heads-up matches, she now gets to pick 3 songs and 3 dance styles that I have to dance at the wedding. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to be the focal point of their wedding, and I think she's got crazy dances planned. So when they get engaged in the near future, seems likely, she's going to probably give me a list of songs and dance to learn. And so that's going to be part of my cardio, is going to some dance classes to learn some official dances.
About to say, at least it's not, not going to hurt you in the prop bet. Let's see here. Do you collect anything?
No. I collect trophies.
Well, besides poker trophies, obviously.
Yeah, I don't have many hobbies. I enjoy video games. Have not played much. I got into chess during COVID. I'm trying to get into backgammon. But yeah, I don't really collect anything. My wife buys enough shit for our kids, so we don't have room for me to collect anything.
On a scale of 1 to 10, thinking of the average citizen in the world, how normal are you?
A 1?
That's pretty honest for a poker player, right?
I mean, listen, the way I treat money, the way I travel, what I've experienced, who I've met, it's not normal, my lifestyle. It's not normal, my family structure. It's not normal the way I see life. I see it very analytically. I see it very, different than the average person. So I definitely think that I'm very far away from normal, but I also wish that more people thought the way I did, because I think society would be a lot better off.
What about the biggest pot you ever won or lost? Your choice.
Biggest pot I ever lost was I was playing some big private, like 200, 400, 800 game. I think I got in like a 200K pot, and it was like a king 5 deuce, and I had king deuce. And I got in versus like king 6 with the flush draw, and we ran it 3 times, and he actually won 5/6 of the pot. And the worst thing is, when we were both so tired, originally thought I won 2/3, and then we realized that I didn't win 2/3. I actually won 1/6. So that was kind of painful. It was not me trying to angle. It was just pure exhaustion. And like when the board pairs and like, different things, kicker didn't play and then it did play. It was just pretty unfortunate. I definitely didn't play the hand great. Got way too much money in on the flop, but back then I didn't know any better. But yeah, I don't play that high stakes very frequently. I think the biggest pot I ever won was probably an open face hand. Probably won like 150. Probably won like, we're playing 3K a point. Probably won like 30 or 40 points versus a few people. So somewhere around there.
Was there ever a time where you thought you would go the cash game route, or have you always been mostly tournaments?
No, there was many years in my career. After that famous retiring from tournaments, I switched to high stakes mixed games, and then when open face got real big, I played massive open face, the biggest games that ran. And then I started dating my now wife, and I stopped traveling as much, and she got pregnant. So I kind of missed a year or two of really good open face action. I should have been going to Macau and playing, particular Chinese guys, and definitely one of those things that, man, I should have probably have focused on that, because there was a very narrow window of that game where people were pretty bad and I was really fucking good at it.
I mean, I don't even know if this applies to you since you started playing poker at 16, but what was the worst job you had before poker?
Yeah, the only job I ever had was working at one of the family restaurants, a place called Jack's Drive-In, where we sell burgers, french fries, and hot dogs. Actually went there for lunch today with Ashley and the kids. So, yeah, when your dad's the owner, it's a pretty easy job. Showed up whenever I wanted to, got paid way too much. So, yeah, I never had to do a real job my whole life.
Is your whole family own restaurants? Is that where Ted's Fish Fry comes from?
Yeah, so my grandfather started it, probably 75 some odd years ago. There's now 6 locations, all in upstate New York. We opened a couple during COVID. My middle brother runs the stores, took over my dad's job. My sister runs the marketing and books, and my eldest brother teaches and also works there. So I'm the only one in the family who doesn't work there. We probably have like 20 cousins. Some of my wife's family even moved to the area and worked there for a few years. So it's definitely something I grew up with, and I love restaurants, but I invested in a Firehouse Sub franchise, did not go well, lost a couple cousins along the way as business partners and friends. So I definitely have a bitter taste towards investing in restaurants, but I do know that, my childhood and I was able to gamble in poker and the respect I got in the bankroll and being able to withstand the variance early on in the career. Cause I didn't mind if I went broke because I knew I could always just run one of the businesses or fall back on that. So it was a very nice safety net. And, my family's always been very generous on paying for particular things through the business. So it's been very nice for me. And I still love taking people there whenever they come visit. I was taking the fish fry. The food's really popular. It's like kind of local legend in the area. So it's been great. And, I love supporting them and I love promoting them. So, throughout the years, I've worn some Ted's Fish Fry gear and definitely have made mention to get people to go there whenever they're in town.
What was your largest non-poker wager? Is it this prop bet? Or have you ever had like a big sports bet or pit bet?
Yeah, I don't do sports or pit very often. So yeah, this has been my biggest wager. Besides, I guess, Firehouse Subs. That was bigger. Well, at least my loss was bigger, but not what I could win. So yeah, it's like my prop bets tend to be a little bit smaller. I don't go too crazy on them because for some reason I have this image as this sick hustler from prop bets when I'm down so much in the last 10 years in prop bets. So it's really been brutal that some of my friends tell what a hustler I am when I'm really not. And I've taken the worst of it in so many bets and I've had to pay out. So hopefully I didn't take the worst of this weight loss bet, win or lose.
As someone who's been around a long time, you're nearing 40. What do you think your chances are for the Poker Hall of Fame?
I think they're pretty good. I think there's a lot of great players who deserve to be in there. I hope they change the structure of it. And if I get in at some point, I will definitely push for the active members to change the rules. I think it's an amazing honor to be discussed as a possibility, but I also know that, I need to put in some more volume the next few years. I think that's one of my goals in poker is to get there. I think that's a great reward for my career of 2 decades plus at that point. And I definitely want to push for it. And I think that, I'm deserving to get in at some point. I don't think I'm a guaranteed first balloter like some people say. I think there's such an amazing generation around my age group who belong in there. And I just hope the old guard recognizes some of the online success and the online grinders and not just make it who's done well at the World Series, because I think Hall of Fame should be more than just who's had the best World Series the last few years.
Yeah, it's right. It's just a matter of opening up the slots, in my opinion, just because we have so much of a backlog of players who need to get in, and then all of a sudden the online generation is within years of turning 40, if not there already.
Yeah, there's
how are you gonna,
Yeah, I'm obviously very good friends with Josh Aryeh, and he's like, if I don't get it in this year, I'm probably never getting it. Like, he knows there's people with better resumes than him coming up. His resume's been very strong the last few years, but he also had a low for like 10 years. So people tend to respect more recent results. So this year I really think it's between Ausmus and Aryeh, and I think they're both very deserving. They both belong in there. It's really difficult to compare the two because Josh has a little bit longer career, but I think, Jeremy's been a little more consistent outside of the World Series, but Josh also doesn't play anywhere else. Like, it's kind of, you can't hold it against him because he has a family and kids and deals with this other shit and, runs Poker Stake. So I think that he's an amazing player when he shows up, and I think he might be the only person who's run further above expectation the last few years than me.
Who was your celebrity crush when you were growing up?
Someone who was slightly involved in poker, and I got to meet her a bunch of times. Well, I'll say two. Pamela Anderson was number one, and she said hi to me a couple years ago in Ivy's room because she was dating Rick at the time, and he loves poker, and he's very good at poker. And then Shannon Elizabeth. So I think it's pretty cool to get to know both. Shannon I got to know a little bit better throughout the years. Played a few events with her and different things. They're two amazingly beautiful women who aged really well. So pretty lucky to still see them every so often.
If you could pick the entertainment for the Super Bowl halftime show, what would you choose? You control it. You could pick somebody good. It could be a magic act. It doesn't have to be music.
I think I would want a three-handed match between Matisow, Jungle Man, and Helmuth.
Oh my God!
Where it's like a poker in the ears, where you just hear their unabridged thoughts about each other. It would be so fucking entertaining.
You see the entire stadium exit.
I mean, it would be entertaining. Maybe not what entertaining people think. I told you I don't like music, so I can't pick the musical act. And I know poker the best, so I think those three characters versus each other, how they think they're all better than each other, and the shit they would say would be so fucking entertaining to me.
All right, you said you don't like music. Do you have even one song you like? One artist you can tolerate?
Like three songs I can stand, and it's Paper Airplanes by Mia, I think. Bone Thugs and Harmony, Crossroads. That has a cool harmonica. And what let's say is my third song. Maybe Happy Birthday? I don't fucking know.
Yeah, we won't sing it. We'll get sued. Longest session ever at the table?
Probably like low 50 hours. I used to do a lot of 36 to 48 hour sessions early in my career.
Wow, well, this was like just long, trips to Turning Stone? Or?
No, it was mostly cash sessions, like in Vegas during the World Series or other trips. I just love to play poker. When I have a seat in a good game, I try to play until I physically am falling asleep at the table, then get a massage and play a few more hours, and then go pass out for, some amount of time.
Are you superstitious at all?
No.
Zero.
I don't believe in luck. I literally have trained my kids to say there's no such thing as luck, there's only variance. And I love it every time they say it.
Do you have any phobias?
I definitely don't like insects and bugs and mosquitoes. Yeah.
Do you like telling people you're a professional poker player? I'm assuming you do.
I love it. I love I've never known anyone did that. Like, I was going for a sleep study this week, and the doctor, I was like telling him I'm a kind of weird sleep schedule. I travel a lot. And I basically was like, yeah, I'm a professional poker player. And he's like, I just taught my kids poker. And he was like, they asked me what a professional does, and I probably gave a bad answer. And he said his explanation. I kind of said a comparison to the stock market and trading and investing. That's kind of where we find our edges, and we just try to replicate that based on volume. And it was just a cool conversation. I think people learning that professional poker players can also be family men, and they're not just these backroom degenerate gamblers, always going broke. I like to show that side of the analytical side of poker and prove that, with my results and my, family life.
Do you have a nemesis or somebody that you can't beat? Somebody who's always held over you?
Was Jeremy Osmus for a few years, but I've gotten good versus him. But yeah, during the last few years, until this last year, he beat me in every pot we played that was of significant value. We always joked about it. And then down in Florida last year, he actually misread his hand. He said probably the first time in 10 years he's done it, and I doubled through him. And I've just been needling him ever since then. He's obviously a great player and never happy when he's at my table in any game. So he's definitely one of the people I'm like, fuck. So yeah, probably Jeremy.
Any near-death experiences?
Yeah. My wife was upset with me one day, said she, if I wind up dead, it's going to be her. So I told my friends, I warned them that if I die in the next few weeks, it's her fault. And she cooked some chicken that night and gave me the biggest piece, and I cut into it, and it was really chewy and cold. And I said, doesn't seem right. She's like, oops, I guess I didn't cook that one long enough. It's like, you try to fucking kill me with chicken. If I died because of food, everyone would believe it. So I had a little food poisoning from that one.
Is there a famous movie that you always get grief for never having seen?
What was it? Maybe it's Footloose. My wife always makes references to that movie, and one of like the Olivia Newton-John, John Travolta ones. Not Footloose. I don't know. One where he like dances with
Grease?
her. No, not Grease. I don't know. There's a definite
Saturday Night Fever.
No. I don't know. Footloose, Kevin Bacon. I'm trying to think.
I don't think you're
I don't know. My wife's not here to give the answer, but there's definitely some things she's referenced, and she's like, "How do you not know that?" I was like, "I don't know. I just don't watch that many movies. Like, I grew up on the kids' sport movies. Like, you mentioned Mighty Ducks or fucking Little Giants or Big Green, stuff like that. I got all the references of that.
Right. Or somewhat sports related. Three Ninjas.
I literally was gonna say Three Ninjas, Rocky, Tum Tum. I was so happy when I got to watch those movies with my kids, and the kids didn't even love them, and they're into Taekwondo and karate and different shit. I was like so pumped. I was like, yes, and they're like, nah, we don't really like it. I was like, this is
I found that everything I've shown my daughter has been too slow for her compared to today's stuff. Like,
I mean,
it just
the
takes too long.
animation is so good. One of my favorite ones was when Evan, my oldest, was like 2 or 3. His favorite movie was Hercules. So when I got to explain to him that the voice of Hades, I play poker with him, and he's a good friend of mine and stuff like that. And I thought about having him one time my kid wouldn't go to sleep to like call and do the Hades voice, because like I played with him one day and he was like still had the voice down. I was like, dude, I love hearing that voice. Such a great character.
Yeah, James Woods, quite a poker player. All right, we end the podcast the same way every time with a question from the random question generator. Here we go. If you were arrested with no explanation, what would your friends and family assume the crime was?
Some type of legal gambling.
Right, that seems like the most obvious situation. You were gambling someplace maybe that got raided or something, or
Yeah, it was part of a home game, at a home game, running a home game. Who knows? Something along those lines.
You weren't pirating a ship or something.
yeah, that's not going to be me.
All right, Shaun, thank you so much for coming on and sharing the stories.
Thank you.
That is it. That is the show. Thank you once again to Shaun for taking the time and sharing the stories. Go find him on Twitter at Shaun Deeb, or check out his YouTube page, which may or may not be active while you're listening to this, at $1 Million Deeb. You can follow us on Twitter at CardPlayerMedia, and don't forget to subscribe to get all the latest Poker Stories podcasts when they are released. Until next time, thanks for listening.